Hi, and welcome to Planetary Calendars, Astro Portraits. I'm Ralph Diamichis, one of the calendar's astrologers with Lonnie Diamichis. This is part of a three-part series, a short little series within our longer series. It's about a couple, and the two people within the couple are Jennifer Lopez, Ben Affleck, and then we're going to look at the chart of the two of them together. We're going to do this in three separate videos, three short videos. Jennifer Lopez was born July 24th, 1969, so you can tell right at the beginning of Leo, first degree of Leo. She was born in the Bronx, New York, and the time we have is 12 p.m. EDT, which a lot of times when you see 12 p.m. you think, oh, that's, they don't know. But the reality is it comes from a particular source that puts her Libra rising in place. So if she has Libra rising, that actually makes sense because with Libra rising, she has Jupiter and Uranus close to the rising. And that Uranus close to the rising many times comes up in charts of people who become very famous. She comes from the Bronx, New York, but she becomes very famous. Jupiter's at 1 degree. Uranus is at 0 degrees. So, they're, hand in hand. Also, it's at a cardinal point, 0 degrees Aries, 0 degrees Libra, 0 degrees Cancer and Capricorn. Those, what they call them cardinal points or Aries points where they have a lot of leverage. So this is a Jupiter and Uranus with a lot of leverage, supposedly at her angles. So that really supercharges it. Then she has the sun in this chart. We use whole sign houses in the 11th, at 1 degree with Mercury at 3 degrees. So a person with a lot of communication skills, a lot of ability to communicate, a lot going on there. She also, interestingly, out of sign, she has Selena, which is, the moon goddess, a sign of great charm at 26 degrees Cancer, so just over the sign and over the line into Cancer. And then she has Venus in Gemini, which is very kind of flirtatious. It's very fun and very flirtatious. But it's interesting because remember, Mercury rules Gemini, and she has Mercury conjunct her sun. The sun, of course, is in rulership. Mercury's massively empowered by being the same sign with the sun, and that Venus is in a mercurial ruled sign. So communications, playfulness, these are all things that are very, very important to her. And of course, the Venus is very important because if she has Libra rising, Venus controls that rising. Right? So this is a person with, a quick mind, also the ability to do more than one thing at a time. And also she's had a career that's gone from both music and acting. She's had a dual career. Not every actor can sing or dance for that matter. She started off really as a dancer and then went into singing and then went into acting. So she has one of these people with these multiple talents. She has the moon at 12 noon, would have the moon at 29 degrees Scorpio. And in looking at her, I could see a Scorpio moon. A Scorpio moon kind of is just beneath the surface, but it has a certain sexiness. It has a certain sense of potency, feminine potency. And when you look at her face, you can really get that sense of that feminine power under the surface. And as she's got older, her face has become a bit more regal, to the Leo. That feminine power is also very evident. And the moon would be conjunct Neptune in Scorpio. Now, it's interesting. The moon at 29 degrees Scorpio means she would have a void of course moon. Right? But it's thoroughly a Scorpio moon. Why? Because it's after 23 degrees. After 23 degrees in a sign, you're into the part of the sign when both the sidereal and the tropical signs are both in place. So people born with, the moon or any planet late in the sign are the true version of that. So that Scorpio moon is very potent. It's conjunct Neptune at 25 degrees. So this gives her, the emotions are, we say a lot of times when you look at the charts of novelists, for instance, they oftentimes have the moon at the rising. It's because they can create their own world. It makes them very imaginative. You add Neptune to that, the ability to think imaginatively on a large scale, to visualize with the moon. And she really has the capacity to kind of bring other people into her vision. And it's in the second house, the house of music. also the house of finances. And she apparently is very good at managing her finances. It's Scorpio in that house. Scorpio is the ultimate manager of collective resources. Mars is in Sagittarius, so it's an out of sign conjunction with the moon, a pattern that she seems to have a number of places here. And that Mars in Sagittarius gives her a great deal of physical dexterity, a lot of athleticism. Remember, like I said, she started off as a dancer. And then she has Saturn and Taurus in the 8th house. Once again, a very good manager of money. She has Pluto in Virgo in the 12th house, conjunct the South Node. And that's interesting because the South Node runs from the 12th house to the 6th house in Pisces, Virgo, Pisces. And that Pluto conjunct the South Node is interesting. It may be that she has this very strong connection to have been in service to others in some very intense way. It's funny, I remember one of her first movies, and she plays a maid. She plays a maid in Manhattan, I think was the name of the movie. Well, in Manhattan, of course, a lot of the maids are Hispanic. A lot of the people came from Puerto Rico, worked in domestic situations for many years. It was a very common thing to see. And so having someone in that situation rise up and excel, is a great, kind of Cinderella story. Of course, she also did another movie in San Francisco where she was a wedding planner and falls in love with the potential groom, which is kind of interesting too. And that, of course, she's a very successful person whose life suddenly changes direction rapidly. She does some wonderful rom-coms, really wonderful rom-coms. Some other great stuff too, and a tremendous performer. So you have this person who's got Libra rising, the arts rising, right? The arts rising. The Sun and Mercury in the 11th house. The 11th house is where you earn your money. It's who you know. The Sun there in Leo, the performer. Mercury, the communicator, in the 11th house, both very, very strong. She's got the Moon and Neptune in the 2nd house, which means her imagination, her ability to visualize is part of her resource. She's got the Mars in the 3rd house. This is interesting again. We haven't seen another concentration towards Mercury here because Mars is in Mercury's house in Sagittarius. Mars in Sagittarius is not considered, it's not a dignified position. You have the 6 dignities, with the well-established roles that any planet will play. Mars is ruled by Aries, Scorpio, in the extrovert version, Libra, Taurus in the introvert version, and then the 2 best friends, which are basically Capricorn and Cancer. So these are the defined roles. Mars in Sagittarius is not a defined role, and yet doesn't mean it's not a successful role, because you find this role a lot of times with athletes. The ability to do great physical acts, great physical performances. And of course, the types that she does is, very significant in terms of acting, especially because, and this is where it gets real interesting, look at that trine between the Mars and the Sun and the Mercury, and even the Moon. The Sun at 1 to 3 degrees fire, the Mars at 3 degrees fire. That's a very, very powerful trine. Also, where's the Jupiter? The Jupiter is at 1 degree, Jupiter, ruler of Sagittarius, conjunct Uranus, 1 degree Libra. So the Jupiter is a sextile to the Mars and a sextile to the Sun. That type of strong connection, that type of mutual support is like living in a neighborhood where you have siblings, but you also have a bunch of cousins your age nearby. Siblings, in some ways, cousins are like sextiles. Siblings are like trines. These are the people who support you. These are the people who give you a network. And she has that network between the Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, Uranus, Mars. And the Mars kind of captures a bit of that Moon and Neptune in the same way that the Uranus picks up some of the Pluto. And the Sun and Mercury pick up some of that Selena, and also, if this chart is accurate, what's most significant is that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is what's called the Gogolon spot. Just clockwise from a major angle, it has a tremendous amount of leverage. And of course, the Venus is, if it is in fact 14 degrees Libra, could be not. The Venus, the feminine self, the sense of forever being young, in the 9th house, a love of travel, which her work has included a great deal of travel, is trine the rising. And trine by sign to the Jupiter-Uranus, but trine to the rising. So you have this person who has a natural affinity for travel, a person who has great physical skills, Libra rising, a great commitment to the arts, the sun in the moon in the 2nd house, the house of the arts, the Mars there in the 3rd house, great athletic skill. A number of years ago, she and Ben Affleck were a major item. Just about to go to the altar. Gets called off, I think, by Jennifer last minute. And now, a bunch of years later, they've been reunited. Venus and Gemini, the sign of doing it twice, in the 2nd house of spouses. Interesting, yes? So that's Jennifer Lopez, a quick look at her chart. And then next we're going to look at Ben Affleck, and then we'll look at the couple put together. Please come see us every Tuesdays when we do our portraits here at Planetary Calendar Astrology, and you can come see us on Fridays when we post, or anytime after Friday when we post the forecast for the coming week through the Planetary Calendar. You can find that, like I said, at Planetary Calendar Astrology on YouTube, and you can also find your day planners, your calendars, your digital version of the Planetary Calendar at planetarycalendar.com. Till next time, be well.